head of a federal agency, that when you use that agency for political purposes, we will come after you. If the Republicans won't do that under Paul Ryan, then you know that he's going to be just as bad as Boehner. Let's go to Mike. Hey, Mike, welcome to First Amendment Thursday and Conspiracy Theory Thursday. How are you?
Good, Lars. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. What's on your mind?
Well, I agree with you 100% on the debate yesterday. It was an absolute travesty. And I tell you what, the lady in the middle and the guy to the right.
Issues that I don't like of theirs. I could ask tough questions. I think I just asked tough questions of Greg Walden. And I'm sure there's somebody out there saying you weren't tough enough with him. Well, I said you gave up all the gains you got in this sequester fight for which the Republican Party paid heavily. But it's the job of all those people to make sure the people in the audience get the best information. That debate did not supply it. Live from the studios of KUMA, glad to get your calls at 866-439-5277. And what did you think about last night's debate? Do you think it did for the American people what a presidential debate is supposed to do? You're listening to The Lars Larson Show.
News Radio 1120 KPNW.
When you think fishing or firearms, think Mazama.
Local, family-owned Mazama is your firearms headquarters and home to the Build an AR wall. Custom build an AR with all your favorite parts. They are Lane County's only CZ dealer, and they have a large selection of shotguns, rifles, handguns, and scopes with free bore sighting.
Team Mazama is eager and knowledgeable. They offer gun safety and concealed carry classes. Conveniently located on West 11th in the same parking lot as Lowe's. Get to Mazama and get hooked on the good life.
When you think fishing or firearms, think Mazama. Sherman Brothers Trucking is looking for drivers, company drivers and owner-operators, flatbed, tanker, lowboy, curtain van, and dump truck. Great benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and paid vacation. Sherman Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1969 and runs regionally with good home times. Sherman Brothers prides themselves on the quality of their drivers and the service the company provides. Excellent training and quality management will help you reach your goals. Check out ShermanTrucking.com for more details or call 800-457-1459. Tune in to Real Estate Today, weekdays at 5:30 p.m.
I'm Bob Nelson, real estate investment broker and exchange specialist. Cascade Exchange Services is my choice for completing tax-deferred exchanges. Megan McMahon, who's a CPA, is my choice of the person to handle my tax-deferred exchanges. It's a locally owned company. They do business on a nationwide basis, same-day document preparation, and
Bicycles can make that dream a reality. There are more models than you might imagine. You can even bring in your own bike, and chances are they can convert it. Best of all, during October, all mid-drive bikes are $500 off. All mid-drive conversions, $350 off. That's substantial, and a really good reason for you to explore the reality of having that little extra push in your pedal. Eugene Electric Bicycles, downtown across from the 5th Street Market. Rediscover the joy of cycling.
Men, if you're like me, you appreciate the feeling of a clean, smooth...
I'm in America, and I'm struggling with hunger. Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help. Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals for kids like me. We are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Online at KPNW.com and on the air right now. News Radio 1120 KPNW.
Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. Glad to borrow a studio for my friends, Butch Thurman and company out here at KUMA Caps Broadcasting in Pendleton, Oregon, the Roundup City, and it's beautiful out here. Some clouds, some blue sky, beautiful wheat fields. I'm located right across from the Oregon Army National Guard Armory and their Aviation Support Center, and it's a pleasure to be in a great town. Glad to get your calls at 866-439-5277. Emails go to talk@larslarson.com. Let's go to Mike in Bend. Hey, Mike, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mr. Larson. Hey, I got to tell you, Representative Walden is plainly compromised, and
he's overall either inert or impotent, and this is based on my own personal experience for a number of years, at least 5. The VA can disable his staff at will for years at a time. My wall is papered. One wall is papered with the failed attempts to get service-connected spinal cord disease treated, and his representative, Troy Ferguson, also worked with him for years, claims Representative Walden cannot be told of my situation because there are, quote, hundreds and thousands of veterans just like me in his district.
Okay, hold up a second. Mike, when I get calls from veterans who say I'm having, or people's Social Security issues or SSI disability or any of those issues, I recommend they call members of Congress, but I say talk to their staff members. And here's why. The congressman himself is not going to run down to the VA. He may, I mean, I suppose in the worst case scenario he might, but why are you insisting on talking to the congressman himself, knowing that the staff member who does that kind of work is the expert in dealing with those federal agencies that will make the decision on this? You're putting the personal blame on Walden because he won't talk to you specifically. Now, let's say in the state of Oregon, we have 4 million people. I think we have a couple of 100,000 vets. Let's say if 1% of them have a problem, that would be a couple of thousand vets. So the congressman sits down, reads through every single case file of 2,000 veterans, and that's all he does for an entire year. And he's not even the guy who's going to go over and talk to the VA and try to get your situation resolved. So why is it so important for you that the congressman read your case and be the point person when the staff guy is probably the person better suited?
Because before the current person, Mr. Ferguson, there was John Howard with the same experience and a few more years of my life gone trying to get the VA Portland to do its job. And because I'm out here in the outback of Oregon...
And you think, no, but you're not answering my question. Why do you think if the congressman read your file, why would that make it any more likely that the VA would do right than if the staff member who's an expert in VA issues reads your file and actually calls the agency and tries to help you out? How is having the congressman read your file...
They don't... Mr. Ferguson does not call Portland. He sends them a letter, and then the VA Portland sends a letter back saying anything but...
And do you think the congressman would do any different?
I think we should get a new congressman if his staff is so incapable.
But here's what do you understand who runs the VA? Who do you think appoints the VA secretary? It's not Greg Walden, but I can tell you what his name is. His initials are BHO.
I've been dealing with the VA for 35 years, Lars. I'm well aware of that.
No, but in the last 7.5 years, the man who has appointed the VA secretary and has the power to make changes in the VA is the President of the United States, not Greg Walden. So if you want to direct your anger to him, I mean, believe me, there are things I disagree with the congressman about, but he is not the guy who is running the VA. Barack Hussein Obama is running the VA, and if you need better proof that this president really doesn't give a damn about veterans or about our military or anything else, I think the proof is right there. But if you want to direct your anger at Greg Walden when he has no ability to change the VA secretary, I guess you're free to do that. You're listening to the Lars Larson Show.
FM News Radio 1120 KPNW.
You've got to get into Mattress Mania today for huge super-size savings. Get a king-size mattress for only $2.99. Save like crazy. Mattress Mania in Eugene, Springfield, Albany, and Corvallis.
Welcome back to the Cat Show. Up next, we have Nico. Nico is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right. A group known especially for their sunspot sleeping, ball chasing, leg rubbing, and of course, companionship. Just look how she struts.
It's like she owns the place.
And see how she curls up and cuddles her person.
The pitch on her purring is simply perfect.
Nice one.
Fantastic cat. But really the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Nico is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Over 300,000 veterans have received the care and benefits they've earned because Paralyzed Veterans of America was there. If you need help with a claim or just navigating the system, contact us at pva.org.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stocks are just slightly lower ahead of the closing bell on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrials are down 9 points to 17,770. The Nasdaq is down 18. The S&P 500 is flat. Businesses reduced their stockpiles of unsold goods over the summer, and that weighed on economic growth. The Commerce Department estimates the gross domestic product expanded at a 1.5% annual rate in the third quarter. That is less than half the rate recorded in the second quarter. Walmart says it will start its holiday discounts, which it calls rollbacks, over the weekend. The giant retailer plans to reduce the prices on thousands of products starting Sunday, but Walmart will not offer unrestricted free shipping on merchandise from its website. A $50 minimum will apply. Customers can arrange for in-store pickup of orders that cost less. Time Warner Cable will test a new kind of pay television service delivered by a customer's home internet connections. New York City is the test market. Jeff Bellinger, Bloomberg Radio.
We report, you decide. This is News Radio 1120 KPNW, Eugene, Springfield, USA.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. 26 years after a boy was abducted near his home in Minnesota, the FBI just announcing a person of interest. Fox News Radio's Jessica Rosenthal has this live.
Lisa, a 52-year-old man who was arrested for possessing child pornography is now also being called a possible suspect in the disappearance of 11-year-old Jacob Wetterling. 26 years ago, Jacob, his brother, and a friend were riding their bikes when a masked man with a gun ordered them to the ground. He made Jacob stay and told the other boys to run. Now, Stearns County, Minnesota sheriff's officials say while nothing was found in Daniel Heinrich's home linking him directly to Jacob's disappearance, DNA found may link him to another boy who was sexually assaulted in that area, and in the same year Jacob was abducted. Lisa.
Thanks, Jessica. A mystery on the tarmac in Fort Lauderdale where a charter plane caught fire. Fox News Radio's Evan Brown with a live update from Miami.
Lisa, 15 people ended up going to the hospital when their chartered 767 caught fire on the taxiway.
One person sustained serious injuries, and those are burn injuries. I don't know if it's a crew or passenger.
Mike Jackals with Broward County, Florida Fire Rescue. The other people were said to be walking wounded with minor injuries. The cause of the fire, which began in one of the aircraft's engines, is still unknown, but there were sightings of a possible fuel leak before the fire broke out. The plane was headed to Caracas, Venezuela, Lisa.
Eben, new House Speaker Paul Ryan says he's wiping the slate clean.
Neither the members nor the people are satisfied with how things are going. We need to make some changes, starting with how the House does business.
He also says they shouldn't hide from their differences. Presidential hopeful Rand Paul leading the conservative pushback against the new bipartisan budget deal.
The secret handshake goes on, and the American public gets stuck with the bill.
His Senate floor filibuster a day after overwhelming House passage. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
If you are behind on your bills, then this message is for you. How would you like to have a large portion of your credit card debt or medical bills forgiven? National Credit Card Relief would like to give you free information on a proven debt forgiveness program. It's not bankruptcy, it's not consolidation. This special program actually wipes clean the portion of your debt that is forgiven. Call for your free forgiveness information now. 800-719-2090. That's 800-719-2090. Don't wait. Call 800-719-2090.
Do you have a retirement account? Is it likely to go up 60% or down 60%? Wake up. Low interest rates support the market, and it won't last forever. It's time to hedge with solid gold. You will regret not doing so in the next market crash. Do it right. Don't pay a setup and storage fee. Discover how. Call Goldworth. Request the IRA guide free. Call 800-257-GOLD. 800-257-GOLD. Visit goldworth.com.
KPNW News brought to you by Battery Exchange, servicing all your battery needs. A man was killed in an officer-involved shooting along I-5 in Salem last night. The incident started as a pursuit south of Woodburn and ended near Kubler Road, south of Salem. Witnesses heard one shot. Police haven't released details of what led to the shooting. Marion County Sheriff's Lieutenant Chris Baldridge says no officers were hurt.
Each night after something like this happens, I think we just, hug our wives and hug our husbands, probably a little harder that, and maybe our kids, and and really just take a step back and know just how critical some of these incidents can be.
The name of the man who was shot has not been released. The Oregon grocery industry will try again to get a measure on the ballot allowing them to sell liquor. It would end Oregon's system of private liquor stores. Voters have been doubtful since Washington State made the same move, but the prices didn't go down. They actually went up, and the taxes remain the same. If approved, the measure would leave the decision on taxes up to the Oregon legislature. Walmart is hiring 60,000 seasonal workers nationwide for the holidays. In Oregon, they'll hire at least 500 people. Last year, more than half of the people hired for the holidays stayed on as permanent employees. Walmart's starting minimum wage is $9 an hour. I'm Bill London, News Radio 1120 KPNW.
Are you ready for some football? Make sure your tailgater can power through the fourth quarter by getting your battery serviced at Battery Exchange. Their experts will only replace your battery if it really needs to be replaced, and at a low price. Go the distance with Battery Exchange in Eugene, Springfield, Albany, Corvallis, Coos Bay, and more.
To me, fearless is embracing what's next, along with your laugh lines. It's signing up for yoga lessons, even if you haven't worn stretch pants since the 80s. Fearless is feeling you have a whole road to travel ahead of you, no matter how far you've come.
Fearless is knowing Regents Blue Cross Blue Shield is there, protecting you with the power of a card that opens doors to the best hospitals and medical centers in all 50 states. Regents Blue Cross Blue Shield. Live fearless.
Gunrunner Arms in Junction City, your hunting season headquarters. Whether you're looking for a new rifle, hard-to-find ammo, or scopes, see Gunrunners. With any scope purchase, Gunrunners will mount the scope and tune it with laser bore sighting absolutely free. And now Gunrunners has reloadable gift cards with new and used guns, ammo, holsters, cases, reloading equipment and supplies, Liberty Safe, survival gear, and more. Gunrunner Arms with new fall hours, 9:30 to 7, Monday through Friday, and 11 to 4:30 on Sunday. Gunrunner Arms on Highways 99 and 36 in Junction City, vet-owned and Second Amendment proud.
Army Specialist Andrew Pike was paralyzed by a sniper while serving in Iraq. Paralyzed Veterans of America helped Andy get the auto, housing, and vocational benefits he earned. You can help our paralyzed veterans. Visit pva.org.
It's 106, and Lars Larson is back at it on your 50,000-watt blowtorch. AM 1120 KPNW.
I want to make sure every American is listening today.
Broadcasting from Portland to Seattle and all of Oregon and Washington.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Now, Lars Larson.
Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. It is a pleasure to be with you. Glad to be broadcasting from the studios of KUMA in Pendleton, Oregon today. I'm going hunting tomorrow, so we're making this a First Amendment Friday as well as a Conspiracy Theory Thursday. But I loved seeing the announcement today, and I can't tell you how many times I've received emails since the end of the last governor's race in Oregon when people said, why doesn't Dennis Richardson run for Secretary of State? He'd be perfect. And here's the way he announced it today. We believe, like Ben Franklin did, that the first 50 years of one's life is spent learning, earning, and raising your family. And the last 50 years should be spent in service. Well, I have to tell you something. Dennis Richardson did his service a long time before that. A combat helicopter pilot in Vietnam, a small-town attorney, a businessman, and, of course, the father of many, many children. He joins me on the air now. Representative Richardson, it's good to have you back on the program.
Well, it's been a year, and it's good to be back.
Well, listen, I was just thinking that I was glad to see you run for governor, but if you had run successfully for Secretary of State the last time around, you'd be the governor right now.
Well, that's true, and the Secretary of State's office would be in different shape than it is now. And many of the things that we wanted to accomplish by me becoming governor, I can do as the Secretary of State. We need to uncover the waste of assets, the abuse of power, and as Secretary of State, I'll be the chief auditor with over 70 other auditors, and our assignment is to ensure the public dollars are being well spent. That's what I'll do.
Let me ask you about that, because do you think, and I want you to be as critical as you want to be, do you think the past secretaries of state, in the last couple of them in the state's history, have been aggressive enough about going, maybe even thinking out of the box? And I'll tell you what I'm thinking about in particular. Last night on the drive out to Pendleton, I was listening to the presidential debate, and John Kasich from Ohio was pointing out that he said their higher ed system is in all kinds of business that they don't need to be in. And he said they sold their parking garage. I don't remember the dollar figure, but it was in the tens of millions of dollars, because he said universities don't need to be in the parking garage business, nor do they need to be in the dormitory business or the food service business. And I got to thinking about that. I thought, I wonder if anybody's ever looked at all the higher ed institutions in the state of Oregon and said, if we got them out of all of the other side businesses that could be handled by the private sector, how much better off they'd be to actually supply the education you expect from higher ed institutions, instead of constantly just begging for more money.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think that a good Secretary of State and their auditors doesn't just do financial audits, they also do performance audits. And they make recommendations to the legislature and to the governor on how money is being spent and where it could be saved, so that that money can be utilized to get into the classrooms and to help those that are in need of critical services. That hasn't been done. Our past secretaries of state have used it as a political protection agency instead of an agency to help protect the people. I mean, we haven't had an audit on Cover Oregon. There was between $200 and $300 million spent. So who's accountable? What happened to that money? And what can we learn so that we don't have that kind of waste in the future? No audit. The CRC, the Columbia River Crossing Bridge, between $150 and $200 million wasted, gone, and there's been no audit to find out where it went. Was there collusion? Was there a corruption? And, I mean, we've seen such things as paying people that were working for the governor to help make sure that everything went smoothly. Well, there's been no audit. And why? The Secretary of State's office, I believe, has been more about protecting political power than to promote the public interest.
Well, it also makes me wonder with the other people who are running, and in particular Brad Avakian, you'll be running against him. He's used his position as labor commissioner for things that seem far outside the whole, area of labor, including but not limited to the case involving the Gresham couple who ran the bakery, who were run out of business because they didn't sell a cake to a lesbian couple who wanted to get married back when it was illegal for them to get married. Brad Avakian jumped into that one with both feet.
Well, absolutely. All three Democratic candidates will continue the partisan agenda of the previous secretaries of state. I mean, Brad Avakian has already said he wants to hold corporations accountable, when instead, as a Secretary of State over the Corporations Division, they should be putting out a welcome mat for doing business in Oregon, attracting good businesses to come here and ones that are here to be able to expand, removing red tape, and enabling them to create more jobs for Oregon workers.
And I guess you could actually be in a position to push for things like reforming the State Department of Energy, which handed out hundreds of millions of dollars of tax credits. And now it sounds as though not only the DOE, but also the private businesses that they were handing out the credits to were cheating on a lot of that, backdating contracts and doing other things that sound, if done in the private sector, like they'd be out and out fraud.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's been no accountability. No accountability, and the Secretary of State's office said that they wouldn't do a full audit of the Department of Energy when it's clear that there's been politically connected elite individuals that get sweetheart deals while average taxpayers go without their needed services. It's a crime, but it's legal and it should be exposed.
I'm talking to Dennis Richardson, who ran for governor of Oregon. I wish he had won that office. He is now running. He's announced today he's running for Secretary of State. Now, did you get a sign-off from your family on this? Because I know what those political campaigns put a family through. Is your sweetheart okay with you going out and doing this one more time?
Oh, yes. Actually, we struggled with this for months. And her last comment, the final one was, Dennis, there's nobody I know who could do a better job than you, and I know that you won't be satisfied if the state doesn't have more accountability, so you should go for it. And so with a loving sweetheart like that, after 42 years of marriage, she's my greatest supporter, and I've got the support of my family. In fact, if all my kids were in Oregon right now, I'd probably win just because of the size of the constituency.
Well, listen, you've got my support. I mean, at the front end, I don't know how much that means. In some quarters, it might actually be a detriment to your campaign. But, I mean, I've seen your conservatism. I've seen your family values. I've seen the fact that you're a small-town lawyer. You've probably helped businesses through financial difficulties because their finances are screwed up. Again, who better than somebody like you, a former combat pilot from Vietnam, and a lawyer to be able to go in and really put a laser beam on some of these state agencies and operations and question, are the people getting their money's worth, and then throw it at the feet of the legislature and the governor and say, you should do something about this. I noticed, what was the one, I think it's Kate Brown has indicated that she's going to do some vetting as governor because she's running for re-election on things like the death penalty, which I don't think needs to be vetted, but she's planning to do all that vetting after the next election, after she's re-elected, I think she hopes. I mean, that kind of political cowardice is nothing that Oregonians should embrace.
Well, you know, it doesn't matter where you serve. I mean, that's why I'm running for Secretary of State, not running for governor. It doesn't matter to me where I serve, it's how I serve. And Kate Brown is coming forward with all these great ideas before an election, but why didn't she implement them when she was the Secretary of State? Why didn't she audit and make sure that we didn't waste so much money on Cover Oregon instead of sitting quietly by and doing nothing?
It doesn't make any sense, does it? Now, are you going to get the kind of support you need? And you know you're not going to get handed any lollipops by the media in this state, because they're probably going to show all the love toward Brad Avakian and not toward you.
I don't know what they're going to do. You know, I felt like they treated me as fairly as they could, understanding who their subscribers are last time. And I believe that they trust that I will do what I say. I mean, even in the legislature, when you talk to the Democrat legislators, they may not have agreed with me on my conservative principles, but they believe that I was honest and hardworking and that I would keep my word. I believe that that's going to make the difference. I mean, I think that people should go to my website at DennisRichardson.com and see what I stand for and hopefully help me financially, because what I learned last time is it takes a lot of money to run a statewide campaign, and people need to get in. And just a few dollars helps enough people.
Representative Dennis Richardson, who ran for Oregon governor, he is running for Secretary of State. I believe he could actually make a big difference. Thank you very much, Representative.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on the air.
You bet. We'll be back in just a moment with your phone calls and your emails. And you tell me, would you rather have somebody like Dennis Richardson in that job or a political hack like Brad Avakian? You're listening to The Lars Larson Show.
News Radio 1120 KPNW.
Most timeshare contracts are, well, they're unfair contracts, and Timeshare Exit Team is the consumer protection firm that will legally and legitimately get you out of yours. It's Lars for Timeshare Exit Team. Look, timeshare resorts are beautiful. They're fun, but their contracts and hidden costs ugly, like maintenance fees. Are you avoiding the mailbox because it's maintenance fee season? It'll show up any day now, and you're wondering how much your fees went up this year. Timeshare Exit Team has helped clients whose maintenance fees have tripled in 1 year. That's ridiculous. On top of that, as a timeshare owner, you often have less access to your own resort than a non-owner who doesn't pay the maintenance fees. But I bring hope. Timeshare Exit Team. They're not a transfer or listing company. They make the timeshares take the contracts back. They have a 100% guarantee that they will get you out or you pay nothing, period. Go to timeshareexitteam.com and get out now. Timeshare Exit Team.
Should I do it for the money or for the comfort? With Trane, the world's most reliable heating and air conditioning systems, you don't have to choose. Trane variable speed heating and air conditioning systems offer reliability and comfort year-round. It's hard to stop a Trane, and you can't stop the savings. Right now, get special financing for 72 months, subject to credit approval. See TraneZone.com for details. The biggest savings of the year on Trane are going on right now and only at TraneZone.com. T-R-A-N-E, TraneZone.com.
Is your home secure in the event of an earthquake? It's Eric G. with Around the House. Oftentimes, the weight of the
home is the only thing holding structure to foundation. My friends at Western Construction Systems specialize in earthquake retrofit, attaching the structure to the foundation to reduce movement. I watched the family team of Ray, David, and Justin perform the foundation reinforcement procedure just the other day and recorded it for my local Fox TV segment. So trust me, Eric G., this can save a lot of damage when the ground starts shaking. As they say at Western Construction Systems, the integrity of your foundation is our specialty. Schedule your free of charge inspection to learn how affordable earthquake retrofitting really is. Also, ask about foundation repair and basement waterproofing. For security, safety, and savings, go to westernconstructionsystems.com, check your station app, or call 503-362-5052. Oregon CCB number 94222, Washington license number WEST ECS 899M8.
Our veterans need you.
There are more than 8 million enrollees in healthcare at the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Veterans from previous generations.
And veterans from today's wars.
Challenging medical conditions.
And more women returning than ever before.
Or redefining healthcare is provided.
Serve those who served our nation.
Bring your medical and healthcare skills to VA. America's heroes need you. Visit vacareers.va.gov.
Hey there, it's Lars. Yeah, it's really me. Why do I sound so relaxed? Y-O-U-I-T-Y. That's right, Uity. You know your money is safe no matter what happens in the market. Uity offers annuities with you and I in mind, the safe kind. These days, it's more important to protect your nest egg, lock in your gains, and guarantee your income. Call them up today and learn more at 844-4-UITY, Y-O-U-I-T-Y. Annuities for you, the closest thing you'll find to a guaranteed pension plan. No upfront fees or fine print. You can relax and enjoy retirement with Uity.
If you're 50 plus with 50 grand or more in an expiring CD, money market, or qualified account, call 844-4-YOUITY to find safety and a solid return. That's 844-4-YOUITY, or visit Uity.com, or just kiss your money goodbye in the next stock market crash. It's up to you. Call 844-4-YOUITY today.
Hearing loss is a growing health issue among young adults and older Americans, affecting more than 48 million people nationwide. Now is the time to preserve your hearing, limiting exposure to loud noises, using ear protection when attending sports events or music concerts, and following the 60-60 rule, limiting the use of earbud headphones to 60 minutes at a time and at 60% of maximum volume. Talk to your hearing health care provider or your physician and schedule a hearing test. Go to hearingloss.org. A public service message from the Hearing Loss Association of America, High Health Innovations, and this station.
Connected to the forest is connected to the rainfall. The rainfall's connected to the wetlands. The wetlands are connected to the river.
I'm Betty White, and every plant and animal, including us humans, and all of our habitats are connected. And each time we lose a plant or animal to extinction, it puts us all at risk. But together, we can help reverse this by supporting a group that's been saving species and their habitats since 1903, Fauna and Flora International. So connect with us at fauna-flora.org. And hurry, there's no time to lose.
Fauna-flora.org. Fauna-flora.org is connected to our planet's future.
News Radio 1120 KPNW.
I feel that the gun-free zones, and, you know, when you say that, that's target practice for the sickos and for the mentally ill. That's target. They look around for gun-free zones. I mean, we could give you another example. The Marines, these wonderful 6 soldiers that were killed. 2 of them were among the most highly decorated. They weren't allowed on a military base to have guns, and somebody walked in and shot them, killed them. If they had guns, he wouldn't be around very long. I can tell you there wouldn't have been much damage. So I think gun-free zones are a catastrophe. They're a feeding frenzy for sick people.
We called a few Trump resorts, a few Trump properties that do not allow guns with or without a permit. Would you change those policies?
I would change it.
Okay.
You know, I got to tell you something. That was Donald J. Trump from last night's debate, the terrible debate on CNBC. Terrible because of the questioning. But the performance by the candidates, let me tell you something about Trump. He's one of the only politicians, Republican or Democrat, that I have ever heard speak out on gun-free zones. Now, that shows real political courage on his part and real political cowardice on the part of others who will not speak out against gun-free zones, even though it's as plain as the nose on your face that gun-free zones are a deadly place to be. Virtually all of the mass shootings of the last 20 years have occurred in gun-free zones, including the one at Umpqua Community College in Roseburg. Let's go to Cassie in Bremerton, listening on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Cassie, welcome to Conspiracy Theory Thursday and First Amendment Thursday. I've combined them both today. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Lars. I watched the debate last night, and I was disgusted, just like a lot of us. And one thing I did like, though, I really felt that the candidates were actually working as a team to show that the bias of the media in this debate in particular.
I think you're right. You're absolutely right. And you know, it's interesting that when you have a media that really does toss softballs. If you go back and watch the Democrat debate, and I watched it, I've also listened to it, you get a little different impression of a debate if you listen to it versus watching it. It tends to hit you differently. But it was softballs for the most part. It was a love fest. In fact, one of the candidates last night said, you know, the questions consisted of which one of you is wiser and better looking, you know, than the other one. I mean, it's that level when there is so much meat that you could dig into with those. You know, you could ask Bernie Sanders, you want $19 trillion in new programs and you propose $6 trillion in new taxes. Is that going to work out well for America's citizens to have higher taxes and more debt? And yet you don't hear those kinds of questions asked by lefties of the liberal candidates for president, but you certainly hear snarky, insulting questions asked of Republicans. I think you're right.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not a fan of Christie, but it was the first time I liked what he had to say. Even in New Jersey, what you were saying was considered rude. What else was there? Oh, yeah, when he called it out on asking about whether or not the government should regulate fantasy football. Yeah. Never thought I'd support what Christie had to say until last night.
Isn't that great? We're $19 trillion in debt. We've got crime in the streets, and we've got ISIS threatening us, and you want to know about whether or not the government should do more about fantasy football? Cassie, thanks a lot. I appreciate the call from Bremerton. Let's go to Matt in Grants Pass. Hey, Matt, welcome to First Amendment Thursday. What's on your mind?
Thanks, Lars. Well, I think Cassie stole my thunder. I was going to say pretty much the same thing. My wife and I loved the debate last night. We loved the fact that the candidates walked over the top of the questions and basically said, nope, this is how it is. This is what we're answering. So for me, I felt like I did get some good information. Kind of helped me narrow my choices down to 4. I love that they called out the press and gave them a super hard time, because I kind of look at them as the 5th branch of government now. And I got an indication for the first time. I'm 52. My first presidential vote was for Ronald Reagan, his 2nd term. And I finally saw some fight in the dog. I've been waiting, I feel, forever to see this. And I was so happy when I turned off the debate and thought, finally, they're standing up for conservative principles. So I'm super stoked this morning.
No, I think it's wonderful, and I hope, here's what I would say about the profession I used to be in before I went to the opinion side of the aisle. And you know, when people call the show and say, you're giving your opinion, I say, yeah, that's what the show is about. But when I was a reporter, I was really careful to keep my opinions out of stories. In fact, after I started doing conservative talk radio, people said, I thought you were a liberal. And I said, no. I said, why did you think that? And they said, well, you were on TV. I said, did you ever hear me give an opinion on TV? And they said, no. And I said, then why did you think I was liberal? And they said, well, you were on TV. I mean, even the public gets the message that the folks in the mainstream media tend to be liberal. So if you don't say anything, then they just assume you are. I think a good reporter should be willing to ask tough questions of both sides. And if not, and if they don't absorb this lesson from last night, then the whole business of journalism is in trouble. Matt, thanks for the call. Let's go to John. Hey, John, welcome to the Lars Larson Show.
Hey, Lars. These, you know, even with Walden and the Boehner boys claim that that $87 billion in savings are due to budget caps versus their sequester or some previous Ryan budget, you know, they failed to drop the other shoe and state that this is money that they're spending. They're not cutting real dollars. They're just cutting additional spending. It would be like me going to my wife saying, hey, last month I overspent $187 on our budget, but this month I only overspent $100, so I saved $87. They're nuts. We're adding $5 trillion to the total debt when we get done with this budget.
That's right. And this was given to the president, and there was a choice. If John Boehner wanted to let his protege, Paul Ryan, show that he was really going to be different, John Boehner could have said to the president, I'm going to give you spending authority through March of next year. And then, in the middle of a political election year, when people are making choices that will come in the primaries and in the general, then we're going to have Paul Ryan negotiate the next deal with you for the rest of your term, and America would have had a chance to see if Paul Ryan is going to do things differently. Instead, John Boehner kicked the can all the way down 3 months into 2017, saying the next big budget decision and credit limit decision will be made in the spring or the late winter of 2017. We're not going to get a chance to see whether or not there's real proof that Paul Ryan is going to be any different, and the opportunity was there, and I think both John Boehner and Paul Ryan decided to pass on it. You got the Lars Larson Show.
News Radio 1120 KPNW.
From the KPNW News Center, here's what's going on. Eugene Mayor Kitty Piercy pressed the City Council to approve a resolution asking the state for help alleviating homelessness.
What we are interested in today and what we are asking for is that the state government as a whole treats this homelessness situation as a crisis, a real emergency, and agrees to work with local governments on all aspects of it.
Piercy originally wanted the council to request that Governor Kate Brown declare an emergency. Instead, she got a resolution asking the state to convene a work group and spend more money to address the issue. Officials say the Oregon State Police were involved in a shooting on I-5 in Salem after an attempted traffic stop turned into a high-speed chase. No officers were hurt. The suspect was killed. Studded tires become legal in Oregon once again on November 1st under state law, but that's just one sign that winter is approaching. It's also the start of snow park permit season. I'm Bill London, News Radio 1120 KPNW.
Are you putting your money into an IRA, pension, or 401k? Then I hope you're prepared to lose 30, 40, 50% or more of your retirement savings, because it's not a question of if the market crashes again. It's a question of when. It's going to happen. Did you know there is a way you can protect and grow your wealth safely and predictably every single year? The people using this approach didn't lose a penny when the market crashed in 2000 or 2008, and they won't lose a penny in the next crash. In fact, their money will continue to grow safely year in and year out, even when stocks, real estate, and other investments tumble. A free report detailing this savings program is now available. This free report shows how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and wealth-building power without risking your retirement in the Wall Street casino. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement. It far outperforms any IRA or 401k. To get this free report, visit bankonyourself.com. That's bankonyourself.com. Bankonyourself.com.
Oregon's Game Megabucks jackpot is over $5 million. Buy yours today.
Brad's Cottage Grove Chevy GMC. Friendly people who treat you right.
This is Brian Sutherland, owner of Amco in Springfield. Is your check engine light on? Is your car or truck not performing like it used to? Has your gas mileage dropped lately? We'll perform our exclusive Amco TransScan at no charge to you. That's a $50 value. And right now, our Power Purge transmission flush is only $99. That includes most cars and light trucks. Maintenance has never been more important, so trust your complete car care needs to Amco in Springfield. For hometown service, remember, AA MCO.
The most accurate forecast now on News Radio 1120. KPNW.
Weather brought to you by Pacific Air Comfort, your local factory authorized carrier dealer. Keeping your home comfortable all year long. Turn to the experts at PacificAirComfort.com. Showers with some sun breaks in 65 today. Look for rainy and 52 tonight. Rain and 61 tomorrow with winds gusting up to 20 miles an hour in the Eugene-Springfield area. Rainy and 55.
Better night's sleep at home and around the world. KPNW is there, covering the news that's important to you. Your 24-hour news, weather, and information station. News Radio 1120, KPNW.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Lucero. A 52-year-old Minnesota man, a person of interest in the disappearance of Jacob Wetterling, who went missing in 1989. Danny James Heinrich under arrest.
Law enforcement officers from the Stearns County Sheriff's Office, the BCA, and the FBI searched the defendant's home and discovered what we believe to be child pornography, as detailed by the federal charges filed today by the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Sheriff John Sander, Jacob Wetterling was 11 when he disappeared near his home in St. Joseph. One runway now open at the Fort Lauderdale Airport after a Dynamic Airways jet caught fire as it was getting ready for departure for Venezuela. The fire sending 15 people to the hospital.
Brake fires, engine fires are something that we train for in the aircraft rescue firefighting business. It's not uncommon.
Mike Jackals with the Broward County Fire Department. Fox News. We report, you decide.
When news breaks, depend on us. News Radio 1120 KPNW.
Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. Glad to get your phone calls and emails. Haven't heard anybody say yet that they thought that last night's debate was legitimate in any way, shape, or... And I kind of expected I'd get at least one naysayer to say that, but no, not yet. Our quick poll, should we privatize liquor sales? It looks as though Oregon grocers are going to seek liquor privatization, and I think it's a great idea. And in fact, I would love to hear somebody tell me why they think that something like liquor is better handled by the state of Oregon. And if people say, well, it's licensed, and you say, well, yeah, so are cigarette sales. Have you ever gone to an official Oregon state store to buy cigarettes? Gasoline is taxed and regulated by both the state and federal government. Yet where are the federally operated gasoline stations? And I've heard people make the argument, well, Oregon couldn't make money on liquor through taxation if it was sold privately. Well, they make money on cigarettes, and those are sold privately. They make money on gasoline, and that's sold privately. There are lots of things that are sold privately that the federal and the state governments make money on through taxes, and yet for some reason, the state says we handle liquor better if it's handled by the state rather than being handled by a private company. I just would defy you to show me something that is done better by the state, whether it's a parking garage or whatever. Pick something and tell me something they do better. And by the way, I want to warn you about something. The mayor's office looks as though it's going to end up in Ted Wheeler's hands. And actually, I think Ted Wheeler is not the worst candidate in the world. He'll be better than Charlie Hales. But there's a former Metro government counselor by the name of Robert Liberty who is thinking about running for mayor. And I want to tell you why this would be a colossal disaster. You know that all over both Oregon and Washington, there's a shortage of housing. The housing shortage is caused almost entirely by government rules and regulations, not by a lack of desire by the private sector to build housing. When you want housing, when there's market demand for housing, and the market demand is right there, if you look at rising rents, that's an indication that the market needs more housing in it. That's the marketplace saying, build more of this, people want to buy it, or people want to rent it, either one. Robert Liberty also used to be with 1,000 Friends of Oregon. It's an environmental land use watchdog group, blah, blah, blah. He's exactly the kind of guy who will keep the kinds of regulations that will make housing harder and more expensive to build, and you're going to end up paying the cost. It's going to be harder for you to find a place to live. It's going to be more expensive for you to rent or buy a place to live. And if that guy gets into the mayor's